Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Kansas City Profiles, presented by Easton Roofing, and an uplifting, enjoyable, weaving journey and interview with Scott Russell, a Canadian former javelin thrower, represented Canada in the Olympic Games. He's a multinational champion for the Kansas Jayhawks track and field team, winning the javelin throw at the 2002 NCAA Division I Outdoor Track and Field Championships. He also won a national championship in weights, represented Canada at multiple national championships, world championships, and Commonwealth Games across, over a decade for Canada. He still holds the javelin record. His personal best throw of 84.81 meters remains the Canadian record in the event. In fact, as you'll hear, that particular throw was longer than the winning throw in the 2012 Olympics, a competition that Scott just missed out on a little bit. He represented Canada at the 2008 Olympics and finished 10th and won his qualifying group. It's been an accomplished career that has been marked by overcoming personal hardships and injuries and self-doubt and hard times, and the fact that professional track and field is not a lucrative enterprise as well, and fighting through all of that. And he transitioned to becoming an educator and physical education professional at Basser Linwood High School, and now at Eudora, where he does the weight training for the high school and multiple other things. He has a lovely wife and 3 children who are getting into sports now. It really is a cool Canadian and American story. A native of Windsor, Canada, and a multi-sport athlete as a youth, he eventually became an absolute standout for Kansas and the Canadian national team as well. You'll hear his fascinating story straight ahead on Kansas City Profiles, presented by Easton Roofing. Scott Russell joins us next.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Did you experience hail damage last year and never got the work done? Most insurance companies only give you a year to get the roof fixed, and if you don't get it done, you could possibly not be compensated in full for the replacement of your roof. If you've been procrastinating getting that damaged roof taken care of, give us a call at 913-257-5426, and we'll send out an expert to help you through the process. We're never pushy, we're just here to help. Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
If you'd like to join these and other fine sponsors and market your business to Kansas City's #1 variety podcast, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to working with you. Always great to catch up with Dr. Brad Whittle of Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture. Everybody wants to make every year a great one, mentally and physically, and certainly ASFCA can help in that regard.
Chiropractic, acupuncture, physiotherapies. We're going to address the body and the mind to keep you in great shape. With winter moving into spring, we don't want to have the opportunity to get hurt or to be slow and not do what we used to do, right?
Absolutely right, and you can do that in a variety of ways.
We can. We love looking at the body and how it moves, looking at the posture and how it holds us to be strong, to be safe, and really to help us do those things we love to do.
The wide variety and range of services you can get helps in that regard at Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture. 7 locations all around the Kansas City area. Find the one that's most convenient for you. And for more information, visit asfca.com/Danny. That's asfca.com/Danny. Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Vision's goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300.
If you'd like to join these and other fine sponsors and market your business on Kansas City's #1 rated podcast, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com. Look forward to working with you.
Scott, you're born and raised in Windsor, Ontario, the third of 4 children. What was it like being an Ontario boy when you were young?
Honestly, I grew up in an athletic family. My dad played a little bit of college basketball at a local community college in Windsor, and eventually became a coach. And he kind of always grew up doing something athletic, starting in t-ball at the age of 4. All of my siblings were involved in something athletic, so it was just something that we kind of grew up with. My kids currently are kind of almost living the same life and just being introduced to as much as we can be introduced, and a lot of camping growing up, and just a lot of family time spent together, kind of experiencing life together and picnics, and that's just kind of how we grew up, was just a family life. We didn't have a ton, with my dad being the one big income in the family and working in a factory. Windsor's a pretty big blue collar town, and a lot of people do work in the factories that are in the city, and that's kind of how my dad worked, and he took care of us and made sure we had what we needed, especially for our athletics. I can even remember him taking us to go get like a pair of basketball shoes and stuff. And I've started to do that same tradition with my kids. Instead of buying them on the internet, is going out and finding their shoes for them. So it's a good place to grow up, a big athletic city, big culture of track and field as well as basketball in Windsor. And it was a good place to kind of get my athletic career started.
Well, was it because you're a big guy? I see all these things and doing the research about baseball, football, volleyball, basketball. No hockey?
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. Growing up in Canada, even my high school, we had a really stellar high school hockey team. But the only hockey I ever played was at a dead-end street in a cul-de-sac, playing road hockey with my friends. Never really had the opportunity to get on skates. I don't know if it was just the time of year. It was usually during basketball season in the winter. So being a guy that's 6'9", and my whole family at one point played basketball. My brother, my oldest sister, my youngest sister, and my dad was a college basketball player. So it was just kind of that time of year we played basketball instead of hockey.
Well, the first, obviously you had some aptitude and size and everything else, and sort of thrived in those sports. But I guess the first bit of adversity is you actually didn't make the varsity team as a javelin thrower your freshman year. Is that correct?
Yeah. So in Canada, you kind of throw in your age group. So my freshman year, you compete 15 and under. I was a little bit younger as I started school earlier. But yeah, our freshman group, I was number 4 of 4 of the freshman boys. So I pretty much did our 3 or 4 regular season meets. And then when it came to our Windsor City Championship, which kind of qualifies you for county and regional and provincials, I was not part of the conversation. Three of my friends were better than me, and it was kind of a difficult thing to kind of take, and I was good in discus and shot put, or even better in those two at the time. So the following year, I thought about not throwing javelin, which is kind of crazy when you think back to it.
But you did, and you decided to do it, and you got better fast, obviously.
Yeah, honestly, that second year, my coach kind of let talked me into continuing throwing the javelin, and he kind of said, you got to give it one more year. It's a hard event. It's very technical. And if you don't try it one more time and see if it'll click for you the next year, then it'll be different. And then that next year, I was still under 15 as a 10th grader. So I competed under 15 in that year. I won our provincial championship, kind of like winning state, but at an age group. It was crazy. I went from freshman year 120 feet in the javelin to my sophomore year throwing 167 feet. So regional championships, it was like all of a sudden everything just clicked, and I continued to get better year after year after year until I had some injuries in college.
And you thrived in basketball too, because eventually you could have potentially done that in college as well, right?
Yeah, I made our city. Our Windsor has about 13 high schools in it. It's kind of the size of Topeka, and I made our all-city team my last 2 years of high school, and I entertained the idea of it. Truly fell in love with track and field, so that's kind of where I ended up. But had a few universities talking to me from the stateside, University of Marquette, University of Detroit, and then one school out in New York called St. Peter's, which was kind of funny because last couple of NCAA tournaments, those guys were playing in the tournament. So I was like, well, that could have been kind of cool. But like I said, really fell in love with track and field, and that's kind of why I strayed away from basketball after my senior year.
Well, there was a Canadian type of connection for Kansas. Was that one of the reasons that you would end up choosing Kansas? And tell me about the recruiting process for you.
Yeah, so Coach Lori LaRoe was the throws coach when I was being recruited back in '97, and she was a Canadian national javelin champion. And it was very comfortable for me to have that home connection. Lori grew up in Windsor. Her family was still in Windsor. So to have those ties made it easy to want to come to KU, as well as the people I met and the history of the program at KU. At the time when I was being recruited, I was really looking for a place that I was comfortable, that my degree, the name on my degree would mean something anywhere I went with that degree. I looked at other places, Wichita State, as well as Alabama, but truly found comfort in having a coach like Lori at KU. And the team that I met and the kids that I met on my recruiting trip just kind of made it feel like it was the right place for me.
Was there any kind of, culture shock or anything like that? I don't think Canada and the United States are that much different, but, weather's a little different, things like that. Was the adjustment to Kansas pretty smooth?
Yeah, honestly, I was homesick quite a bit my freshman year. Mm-hmm. And I'm a pretty big homebody, and I think that was the biggest shock to me was, the inability to just pop into my parents' house for the weekend. That was kind of the biggest thing for me, and I kind of felt that all year, throughout the year, and obviously, like, you instantaneously become part of a family, and when you join a track team, like, you instantaneously have like 80 to 100 new friends,
right?
And you're all kind of going through the same thing together, so that helped me, and it took my mind off some of the homesickness. But then sophomore year, I realized what I was capable of and what I wanted to do while I was at KU, and it made it easy to want to come back.
You got a full ride from my research. That's kind of unusual for track and field, is it not?
Well, actually, my freshman year, I signed on about a 70% scholarship. Okay. Right. It was an opportunity. It was the best offer I had, and it made school reasonable for me to be able to afford that freshman year. And the following year, my freshman year, during the indoor season, I was second place in the NCAA in the weight throw at the championships. And then outdoors, I qualified for nationals in the javelin. And then my following year, Coach Schwartz and Coach LaRoe bumped me up to a full ride scholarship. So on the men's side, from what I remember from back then, I believe there was about 12 scholarships on the men's side for an entire team, and I think the women had a few more than the men. But yeah, it's a lot of those scholarships in track and field get divided up into smaller scholarships to be able to field a full team.
There's a lot of throwing events: shot put, discus, javelin, hammer throw, and weight toss. Maybe some of the listeners are not necessarily familiar with the latter. I think everybody knows about the first four. Why does the weight toss exist, and how's it different from, say, shot put?
Well, the traditional four in track and field: shot put, discus, hammer throw, and javelin. Most people get the opportunity, at least here in the United States, to see shot put and discus in all the states. about 16 states now. I think